I've always wondered if the government like that could just take, like you're saying, even if it's not 15, let's just say 10, $7 trillion and put it towards anything. Why wouldn't you put it towards something that, like you said, you could probably get a cure within 1 to 5 years, and then all of that would be eradicated? Like,
Right.
I just don't understand. Is it because, here my tinfoil hat on, is it's like, well, cancer's big business. These heart diseases are big business. There's a lot of money is made every year for people to get sick. Overpopulation. There's all these things that people can talk about. But I've always wondered that what you just said is like, why aren't these resources being used for things that could actually save hundreds of thousands of people's lives on a yearly basis?
Yeah, and I think I don't know the answer to this, but I can mitigate your view a little bit and say, look, the fact is, although we don't have a cure for cancer, the technology in improving people's qualities of life and even length of life who are diagnosed with cancer has grown by leaps and bounds over the past 30 years. When I
Right.
was a kid, cancer was a death sentence. Now it's much less so, not in every case, of course, but it's much less so today.
Right.
And so we are making progress here. But as with anything, the question comes down to um, whatever resources you put toward this thing are going to be resources you can't put toward something else. And you got to make that call. And so too with COVID. I think the politicians made the call in the wrong direction, but they made that same kind of call.
Right. What would you have if you were king of America? What would you have allocated those resources to?
Yeah, so I don't know the answer to that, but let me back us up about 18 months and tell you what I would have done differently at the outset of COVID. And at the outset of COVID, we suffered, all of us, from a serious problem, and that was lack of information.
Mm.
The data that we were getting that appeared to indicate that COVID had a huge mortality rate, 100 times what it actually has. What led to that was a bias in our observations. That is, we only had a few test kits. And what happened? The people who we tested were people who were sick enough to come to a hospital.
Mhm.
And consequently, we got this impression that COVID was far more deadly. Not to say it's not deadly, but we got the impression it was far, far more deadly than it was.
Right.
What I would have done from day one would have been to invest a significant amount of resources in doing randomized testing. Let's find out what we're dealing with here. How dangerous is this thing? And I think if we had done that, a lot of decisions that we made in April, May, June about locking down and closing businesses and whatnot would have gone differently.